What does your morning look like? What's your morning routine look like?
Generally I get in probably 7:00 in the morning, and my first thing is just look at what I have planned for the day.
I'm actually a Verizon customer.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
I had switched away, right? And then the cell phone coverage was no good, so I came back.
All right, good. That's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
You went and had an experience and you came back. That's perfect. Now,
Yeah.
where do you live in Florida?
Yeah, I'm in Sarasota, Florida, and it just
Okay.
so happens that the 15 miles radius around my house, the only carrier that's good is Verizon.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you didn't have Fios or anything like that, right? You just use this for
Yeah.
cellular. Right. Okay.
Yeah, we don't. I think I have you at my business. I think we're on Verizon right now for the business, but for my home, no, your
We're
fiber
not there
lines
yet.
aren't out there.
We sold a couple markets that we had down in Florida for Fios. We sold a few years ago. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Get this. So Frontier buys it, right? And then it's April Fool's Day, when a transition happened and one of the main lines in our whole town got cut. So all of Tampa, the whole city of Tampa was out of internet for 6 hours on April Fool's Day.
Oh, really?
And I thought everybody was messing with me when I got to the office.
It was real. Oh boy.
Yeah. So what does your morning look like? What's your morning routine look like?
Generally I get in probably 7:00 in the morning, and my first thing is just look at what I have planned for the day. And then I typically go through emails and stuff for about an hour. And then, then I just get into the meetings. So typically I try and do my emails and stuff, before I get into the day, and then I'll do them again at night. Cause they kind of, they build up on you. I remember one time my daughter asked me what I do for a living, and I told her emails.
How
So
old's
you
your
have to
daughter?
be careful. You have to be careful. You can get stuck in email hell if you're not careful, right? So, I put time aside for the day to do that.
How old's your daughter?
Oh, well, I have two. I have one that's 17 and one that's 15. Hopefully
Wow.
they're going to be, we'll see. Hopefully they're going to be engineers. They, they're studying science and math and actually coding.
Nice.
In high school. So we'll see if we can get them down the engineering track. Both my wife and myself are trained engineers.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
My father
Good
is.
debates.
Yeah. I have a 11-month-old baby girl.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. So my family has a foundation and we do children's books and for charity. And one of the books we have is called The Princess Physicist.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And it's a princess who gets stuck in a tower, but instead of a guy coming to save her, she finds a book about physics under the bed and uses physics to get herself out.
That's fantastic. Where can I get that?
I'll send you a copy.
Oh, that would be awesome, man. I'd love to get that.
Yeah, it's like one of the children's board books. I thought it'd be cool to be able to read my kid books that we had made.
Oh, wow. And I really like the story too. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Nobody comes saves her. She figures she uses physics to figure her way out of that. That's awesome. I love
That's what my daughter would do. So I was like, I got to make a book for her.
Awesome. I appreciate that. That's cool.
So I was talking to Kevin Scott, who's the CTO of Microsoft. He is a fantastic human. If you ever get the chance to meet him, just a really cool guy. And he was talking to me about all the different great things that they're doing with the intelligent edge. And so I noticed everybody's bringing up the intelligent edge. I can't get away from it. I want to know what you think of it and how is it on your radar?
Yeah. It's something, it's kind of a term we gave to our overall strategy of really upgrading our networks. So we can build what we call kind of a multi-purpose network. If you look at our history, a lot of our networks were built for each business unit, if you will, right? So the wireless business unit, we built a wireless network that optimized that. If you look at the Fios network, there was a whole set of other engineers building networks to optimize our Fios offering. Same thing if you look at our enterprise business. We had other engineers doing that. So, that was fine. But now the technology has advanced to a point that we can really streamline our networks, make them much simpler, make them flatter, make them easier to operate, and really set ourselves up for future technologies. So why we call it intelligent edge, really in our world, it's a lot of different technologies coming together. It's something we call unified transport. So we have a couple different partners that work with us on the transport piece. We're working with Cisco and Juniper and others on some really advanced routers. Mm-hmm. And it all starts with fiber, right? So we're putting a lot of money into fiber. So you take those three things, and then you add in 5G and what we call mobile edge compute, which we think is going to be a big deal in the coming years. You add that all together, and you build a really flexible, easy, advanced network that has a lot of intelligence in it and can do really good, we think, really groundbreaking things in the near future. So, it's kind of the bedrock of what we're trying to build around here these days.
That's amazing. I'm curious. We get a lot of questions from the audience that they want us to ask you. And so I go through all of them and pick a few ones that are interesting. And one guy named Hal, he asked about quantum entangled communications.
Okay.
And this, yeah, right. I know. I was like, this will be a good one. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to quiz you on the physics of quantum entangled communications, but the question I extracted from his question was, I would like a little insight and you to speak a little bit about how stuff goes from the lab to our hands and the commercialization process. How long does that generally take? And yeah, just a few thoughts on that.
Yeah, no. So it's interesting. I don't know much about that quantum computing stuff and networking. I have seen some demos. It seems really cool, but it also seemed like they needed to do it like in ultra cold,
a lab.
Yeah, exactly. So
it works in the lab, I promise.
Yeah, if it's really, really cold. But who knows? There's a lot of smart people working on it. Maybe we'll see something there. But generally, it depends on the technology. So if I take something like 4G or 5G, that's driven a lot by standards bodies and a lot of engineers and technical people working together to come up with standards, decide how things are going to work. Then typically vendors, they will take those specs, they'll build, chipsets, software, gear, and then we'll typically go and put that in our labs. We'll run it through the paces, typically iterate on that a little bit, and then it's ready for prime time. We'll go do some FOAs, which is first office application. We'll test it in the field, and then at some point we'll say it's ready for prime time. We'll start deploying and then selling to customers. So that's generally if you're talking something like 4G or 5G, and the reason it needs to be like that is because all of these systems need to work together. So, and people need to be able to take say, for instance, a cell phone from the United States and go to Europe, and it needs to work. So the standard setting process is very important. Now, there's other things we do if we're coming up with a new product or service, and that's a little different because in that area, really what we're trying to do is come up with interesting services for our customers, whether it be consumer or enterprise, what have you. And typically what we try and do is we look at what is kind of some of the groundbreaking tech that's out there. And then we try and figure out how, is this some kind of tech that we can use in-house and integrate it with some other things we have and, apply technology to solve issues for our customers. So kind of two different models for, how we develop new things. And they have different timelines too, obviously.
Yeah, that's very insightful. I'm curious to know about, you mentioned email, but if you were to, obviously you're the CTO of a very large organization, right? Mm-hmm. And so what all the mid-level CTOs, maybe they're teams of 500, 1,000, 5,000, they're all curious about the pie chart. Like if you were to chunk your day into 3 pie slices, what would they be? How would that look?
It's interesting. Actually, I actually do that. And what I do is at the beginning of every month, I set out, actually I do it every 90 days. I set out what I want to get done in the next 90 days. And then I write down the 4 or 5 things that I want to spend my time on. And I actually decide, it's a pie chart, and I decide how much of my time on each one I want to spend. And then I actually go at the end of every week and I look to see if I did that or not. And what that does is it helps me stay focused. Obviously, in an organization this large with so many things going on, I can easily get distracted and not major on the majors, as our chairman says. And so I make sure that I actually quantitatively sit down, write it down, think about it, and execute on that.
Who was that you mentioned?
Our CEO, Lowell McAdams. He always says something. He always has the term about majoring on the majors, and
yeah,
really
you don't
just
want to major on the minors.
Don't major on the minors, right? And that's as you kind of move up the chain of command, it gets more crucial that you do that. And hey, listen, there's things that are really cool that I like to spend my time on, but it's not what I'm paid to do. So I got to make sure I stay focused.
That's incredibly important. The focus is the determining difference between the people who achieve the success and they don't. You mentioned you're at the top, so you've had to work your way there. Nobody just arrives at the top and it's just magical. I'm curious to know a little bit about your path, how you got started in technology, and then how you leveled up to where you are today.
Sure. So I mean, it's kind of a long story, but just in a nutshell, I have a degree in mechanical engineering. Just because that's what interested me the most. And then when I was getting ready to graduate, I was looking at different, I think it's important to look, where do you want to go work? And, the mobile phones were just coming onto the scene. And it looked like a really cool technology that had some legs and an interesting, so I hopped from, kind of mechanical engineering, what one would think a mechanical engineer might do. And I hopped over into basically more of an electrical engineering type scenario. And I was hired by 9X Mobile as a cell site technician in the late 80s. And, I took care of cell sites. And at the time it was brand new technology. I got to work with really smart people at Bell Laboratories. When I started, I think we had 75 cell sites. Today we have tens of thousands, 70,000. So, I learned right, hands-on experience from day one being a cell site tech. And then as time went on, I got to get involved in other different kind of technologies in, crypto and security, designing new technologies. I've been around for all of the G's, as they say. So 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. So I've been here for all the G's, and I've seen the whole industry grow from really its early days. I've been very lucky, and the company has, I'll tell you, done a good job. They're very thoughtful about how they, keep increasing your skills and see, what you can handle. And I've been very lucky that I've been given a lot of different jobs where I've been able to learn from, technology development, engineering, construction, finance, business development, products, networks. So I've just had a great ride, and I'm fortunate and humbled that the company has thought enough of my skills and abilities to allow me to run this great organization.
Oh man, I'm getting all pumped up hearing this. All right, I'm sorry, I like geek out over technology and leadership. I'm like, tell me about that path. Tell me about the first time that you got the opportunity to lead a team and how it didn't work out. No, but like what you learned. Yeah. Well, it almost, the trend here is that it virtually never does. You get your experience, but you get it as a leader. So I'm curious to know, how far were you in your career when you got your first chance to lead a team, and what's the one lesson that still sticks in your mind from then?
Yeah, I was very lucky since we were, I was in this thing very early on. The wireless company that I was at, 9X Mobile, was relatively small. So frankly, I started managing a team probably when I was like 23 or 24. Frankly, had no experience at all, but that's how you learned. It wasn't a big team. It was a team of maybe 10 folks. But ever since then, I've had ever increasing, sometimes larger teams, sometimes smaller teams. Each one is different depending on, what you're trying to accomplish. I've led teams that are kind of more operations oriented. That's, they tend to, you manage that a little differently than, say, I'm managing a group of, people who are doing technology development and really into the bits and the bytes of the tech, right? There's kind of different methods to manage those teams. But, it's really just a learning experience. You got to hop into the pool and, work with people You got to figure out what motivates folks, get everybody lined up and charging in the same direction. That's the key.
Now, so when you were learning, did you just sort of surround yourself with some great people who knew more than you, or did you with some like certain books or different leaders that you learned from, like their, books or audio programs, whatever it may be? Like where did you pull your resources to upskill yourself in those areas?
I think it's basically experiential. I've been very lucky. I've had some great bosses, and I've learned each and every one. I've learned something, from them. And, and I really think it's experience. Sure. You read papers, I was in business, I went to business school. So you read some academic stuff about it and, read HBR, whatever. But it's really about, you got to deal with people one-on-one, and you got to be able to motivate folks, and you got to be able to come up with a vision that people believe in. You have to sell it, and you have to treat people fairly. I'm a big believer in, you set goals for folks, and you ask them to go to a certain place, and then innovation happens, and good folks come up with new ways of doing things, and you embrace that as opposed to, sitting on top of folks and micromanaging people. That never, I learned that really early on. That doesn't really, that doesn't do anything.
That makes it worse.
Really, it's just really experiencing and gaining knowledge over the years on what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. So paying attention to, what other bosses and leaders are doing around you, and then taking what you like or don't like from each person and kind of blending it into your own.
Yeah, and burning my own style, right, man? And just, it's funny. We have some interns here, and I was talking to them yesterday, and they were asking about leadership. And I'm like, you got to be you, right? Just do you. And don't try and be anything that's not, that's kind of fake, because people see right through that. Just be your own person and do you, and then maximize you, and everything will be okay.
Yeah. And then get more experience.
Absolutely. And it goes back to getting, I've been very lucky. Just keep trying to find different experiences that you can learn from. Right now, this is great for me. I'm learning so much in this role. It's fantastic. And I always ask people, just always be inquisitive, keep learning. That's the kind of people I want here. I want people who are inquisitive. They want to learn new things. They want to upskill. They want to learn new technologies and see how they can apply them to our business to help our customers. And that's, you surround yourself with good people like that, good things are going to happen.
Lots of innovation, like you mentioned. So I was speaking with one of my brother's friends. He runs one of the larger EMT/fire counties in the United States.
Okay,
it's like down in Lee County, down in Florida. Okay. And for some reason, they're just exceptionally large. And he was showing me some of the really cool predictive analytics that they could do about when emergencies would happen. He's like, look, we know that this many calls is going to come from this area on these types of days. And I was just blown away by what they were able to do with the amount of data that they have of, managing emergencies in that geographical region for X amount of time. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so you guys have incredible amounts of data, right, about just everything. And so you must have tremendous capabilities to do some amazing things with machine learning and predictive analytics. I'm curious to what's going on that front.
Actually, it's one of the areas that I'm most excited about now, because here's an area where you talk about the intelligent edge network. This is an area that I'm really, I'm super excited about, because we can really change the way we do things. And we started on this journey probably 5-6 years ago. And if you know anything about telecom, typically carriers have these things called NOCs, and it's really a network operations center. Mm-hmm. And, for the last 100 years, really what those things are is they're places where our technicians sit and alarms come in. So all of the millions of different devices that we have out in our network, sometimes cards fail, boxes fail, things fail. And generally what happens is an alarm comes in. And then we'd send somebody out to fix it. Not very exciting, in this day and age. So what we're trying to do is change that. So instead of alarms coming in, we're trying to characterize at very deep levels how the network works and how they function, and how different events in one part of the network, we can correlate it and understand what an outcome might be somewhere else. And one area that I like to talk about is we're getting very good at predicting failures, almost like you're saying. We're getting good at predicting cards failing before they actually fail. So you go back 10 years, the card would fail, alarm would come, we'd send somebody out to fix it. Now we can gauge with very good precision, like 99%, when a certain card may fail, within a week or two's time. And that really is helpful for our customers because we can change that card out before it fails and anybody sees any impact, right? So it's those kind of things that, and once again, it's our people. They're upskilling themselves to learn the new tech and how to apply it and make our networks run better. So that's really, I'm super excited about that. It's early days of this. We're skilling up there. We're hiring folks in that area. We're setting up a framework to really be able to leverage it across the whole company, not just in network. It's an exciting time from that perspective.
Yes, I'm very excited because I was just talking about this last week with Dennis. He is the senior vice president or CEO. I think he's the CEO or senior vice president of Canon, they do cameras, imaging.
Yep.
Yeah. And they do an incredible amount with imaging and networks and infrastructure. And he's actually only about an hour from you physically. And he's a great guy, like super cool. You get along with him. You should definitely meet him. And sure. He was telling me about this big push that they're doing now. So they can actually proactively swap out different pieces of equipment. And they're getting it to the point where they're calling you up and say, hey, this is going to break and 2 weeks, we're going to come out there and replace it.
Right.
Yeah.
Same idea.
I love it.
And he's probably working on, what's cool about he's working, you bring up imaging, that is a great use case for the intelligent edge network because there's a lot of work going on in the world about, image recognition and, manipulation and using video, to do advanced things, right? Especially in smart city applications. Yeah. And that's really where the intelligent edge network comes in with 5G. So if we, as we're deploying 5G, we have super great latency characteristics with 5G, and we have some mobile edge compute there. Guys like, the fellow at Canon and people who are doing like a lot of advanced imagery stuff, this will really give them a leg up and really move the whole science forward.
Yeah, it's amazing how life works and how these great companies are doing these things in these similar spaces but differently. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I love it. And just so much brilliance. Also, like the CTO of Williams-Sonoma, they acquired, they're like the kitchen company.
Yeah. I buy stuff from them.
Oh yeah, they're awesome. Okay. They're Yazir, he's the CTO over there. Mm-hmm. They also own Pottery Barn, which was news to me. But they acquired because they're making, everybody wants to do the AR stuff with the cameras. Mm-hmm. And so they acquired this like 100-person AR company and used them, pulled them into their company, and then digitized all their products. So now in the near future, I don't know if it's publicly available yet, you're just going to be, your wife's going to be able to spend money without leaving the kitchen, more so than on Amazon. You can see what it looks like. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's what we're betting on. Part of this, what we're building these networks for is, I believe AR and VR are going to be, it's going to change the way people do things. It's going to be a whole new platform, and we're early days of that too. But to do any mixed reality, virtual reality, augmented reality, to do it well, you need to have the latency characteristics that you would get with 5G, right? Yeah. On 4G, why 4G is a fantastic technology. People love it. It's but for doing like any kind of application that's really latency sensitive, we need something a little more advanced, and that's where 5G is going to come in. We'll get down to single digit millisecond latencies with 5G. So it'll make AR VR unbelievable. And since it's wireless, you'll be able to move around, right? You won't have to have. You've probably seen a lot of these AR VR demonstrations where people are wearing an Alienware computer on their back. But that's like we'd like to build a network and a platform that allows people to. Maybe you just need your goggles on. You don't need to have all the other ancillary gear with you to get a great experience.
Right. I'm looking forward to the day where we no longer have the web, in the sense that the wires need to go like around and be drilled, like when we could just get it from the satellites.
Well, or the wireless network. How's that?
Well, yeah, the wireless network. Well, I mean, you guys see Elon Musk and those companies putting the clusters up there, like the micro satellites, and
Sure.
we're just going to get more of that, right?
There's a lot of companies looking at, there's a few different ones that I know of that are looking at, doing some kind of wireless data over either balloons or satellites or low Earth orbit satellites, et cetera. And there's probably use cases for that. But for us, we're really focused on our, traditional having antennas on the ground and connecting them with fiber and the intelligent edge network. So that's where we're putting our bet.
So that's important right now.
Yeah.
That's like what, all right, good.
That's
See,
exactly
I don't know.
what we're doing.
I come talk to you, so you tell me.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So that's what we're spending a lot of our time putting out the infrastructure for 5G.
Yeah.
We announced we're going to do some fixed wireless trials this year. We announced 3 cities that we're gonna do it in. The last one we just announced was Houston. So we're out there right now putting in the fiber and the antennas that allow us to start selling that to customers, and we'll be doing that this year.
What? That's amazing.
Yeah, good.
I'm like pumped up because, I've been watching these videos of, like, I think a couple car companies did some videos about what would be possible with 5G, essentially the real-time style communication. And I saw a couple of them and I was like, whoa. So that brings up the question you just answered about Houston's getting is when will 5G be commonly available in the United States?
Well, next year we've announced, we will be deploying the technology. We're deploying it this year, but we're really going to gain speed next year, and you'll start seeing a lot of these services in 2019. So next year you'll start seeing it. We're already working, however, we're not waiting until the thing's deployed. We're out working with a lot of our partners in the tech world to come up with what are the interesting things that consumers would like and enterprises would like to use the platform for. So we're out there developing it right now. We're working with a lot of the thought leaders in the tech world. So when the platform is out there and ready to be used, there'll be useful applications that can plop right on top right away. So a lot of work going on there.
Are there 5G phones out for purchase now?
Well, actually, we announced last week that there is a 5G capable device, a Motorola device, and I think we made that announcement a few days ago, last Thursday, right? So that's the first 5G capable device. When the chipsets are ready, there'll be a jetpack, or not a jetpack. There'll be a mod that goes right onto the phone, so then you'll be able to use 5G right away. And then we have a host of other, developments and stuff we're working with our partners on right now. So when the network's ready, we will have the devices ready as well.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm like really pumped up. Like, are you guys ahead of your competition? Is anyone ahead of you? Are you right in line with someone? Like, are you leading the pack?
No, I think we're leading the pack. We've had a tradition of doing this. We were the first to push LTE. We were out there first with that. We were driving the industry to go to LTE, and the same can be said for 5G. We've been out leading the pack on this one. We will be first to the market, and we not only will be first, we'll be best. So
yeah. Well, honestly, so I really I pay the extra money because the network works good and I like the quality, but also I find it like shopping like Target versus Walmart. It's just a nicer experience. Like I want to go to the higher end. Like I know it's a little bit more, but it's a better experience. It's easier on me. I don't have to worry about it. No Verizon junk is ever going to hit my to-do list. The bill gets paid. The thing works. I
appreciate that. I appreciate you being a customer, and I appreciate you being an ambassador for us. That's fantastic.
Yeah. I don't mean to be like, I'm also, so you guys are you in the process of acquiring T-Mobile, right? Still?
No, not us. That is, that's Sprint and T-Mobile.
Sprint's acquiring T-Mobile.
Well, Sprint and T-Mobile, they're trying to merge their companies, and they're going through the, all the regulatory and legal things they need to do to try and make that happen.
Do you think that's going to happen?
I don't know.
You don't know? I don't know.
That's up to the governments and the Still figure that out. I don't spend my time thinking about that.
Yeah. No, I'm just curious. I know very little about it. I just know Cody, who's the CIO at T-Mobile, and him and I, like, he's a cool dude. He does, we have like similar running mixes. I found out that the music, you're going to like this, right? I'm in my early 30s. So I found out that the music that I enjoy running to is like disco remixes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I was telling him some of
Hey, if it's got a good beat, right? And then you keep in time.
That's what, yeah. So Pandora just started spinning, Pandora, right?
Yeah, sure.
And they just started spinning stuff. And like, I got into, you can customize the station beyond belief. And then I was listening to these songs, like, these are really good, but they're all kind of mixed together and they're not original. So I started, thinking about it and talking to people about it. Like, this is some really good music. Who is this? Yeah, and yeah, it's I would have been a fan of disco apparently.
That's good. My daughter, it's interesting. My daughters are, they're starting to like listen to stuff like Zeppelin and some of the 80s music that I like. It's pretty, it's all new to them, right? So yeah, it's interesting. They go back and look at what I was listening to and they're starting to like it. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm a fan of music. I play guitar and a little drums. But what I found is that the decades have like different souls. Like it's...
Oh, sure.
And you can identify with any of them. Like, it's not, you don't have to only listen to 80s music because you're in the 80s. You could just identify with that theme.
I love music too. Right now, I'm kind of into Hendrix a little bit right now. Honestly.
Yeah?
I don't know. Yeah. I like Jimmy like when I was younger and then kind of lost him. And now recently I started listening to a lot of Jimi Hendrix again for some reason. So.
Yeah, I've been on a B.B. King kick lately with, him and John Mayer did some cool stuff and played some awesome blues. And I don't know, I play a little guitar, so I enjoy like playing along. It's like, oh, what are you doing tonight?
What kind of guitar you have?
I have a lot of guitars.
Oh, you do? Okay. You like it. All right, good.
Yeah. So I've got, I don't even know how to pull the, I'm actually excited. I don't talk about the guitar stuff much on the show, but yeah. So man, we've done a podcast.
Cool.
Yeah. Were there any other topics that you wanted to touch on that you're really excited about? I know you said you were very excited about the predictive analytics. We talked about 5G. Everyone's really pumped about that. Yep. Anything else? Yeah, no, I know. I think those are when we talked about before about how I spend my time, the things we just touched on are really how I'm spending my time. The only other thing is probably that I leave you with is, 4G is still what we're spending, most of our time on, our resources and our money to continue to advance 4G. Just because 5G is coming doesn't mean 4G is going away anytime soon. It's fundamental to what we do, and we have a lot of new technologies going on there, like something called carrier aggregation. So we can have different frequencies. You can kind of bond them together to get faster speeds. Something called MIMO, 4x4 MIMO. We have multiple antennas in the device and in the network and something called 256 QAM. So anyway, these are just kind of techniques and technologies that we are putting in our LTE advanced footprint throughout the country. So your service should continue to improve as we put these things into the network. So these technologies are ways that you're actually enhancing the current 4G network. You betcha. And we're spending a lot of time in our engineers spend a lot of time on deploying these technologies and these optimizations, and our customers will start benefiting from them here. So we continue to spend a lot of time making sure our network is the best network in the country. So going from 4 to 5, that's like 1, right? Mm-hmm. But how much of an improvement is it really? It adds a lot more capacity to the network, which means you're going to always get a consistent and good experience. And how we know this is because we do a lot of testing of our network. There's a lot of various different ways you can test your network. One way is we do something called drive testing. A company called Root Metrics does they send vehicles out into the world and drive the different networks, and they compare against each other. And in all the studies that you see, we always show, all these independent studies show we have the best networks. And we're gonna keep doing that, and we're gonna keep applying technologies to our already incredible network that make it even better and keep us in the lead. So that's what we spend our time on. Are you a fan of Elon Musk?
I don't read much about him. I think it's pretty cool what he's done with these cars, what he's doing to the car industry. Seems like an amazing guy. Yeah, the rocket seems cool, but there's a bunch of people doing that too. So, I'm a fan, I guess, but I don't know. I don't follow him too much. I got to be honest with you.
There's him. There's Branson, Richard Branson, and then there's Bezos. Mm-hmm. It's all the billionaires doing the rockets.
They're all doing rockets.
Yeah. So I bought all their biographies, their life stories, right? Uh-huh. And I read them all, and so I'm like, this is the path to the billionaire rocket club. Okay.
Well, good luck.
So
I can tell you, we're not going to be doing that. I don't think we're going to be shooting rockets here at Verizon.
No, but here's a question for 5G, right? Because it might be able to help, right? Because they have to communicate, right? And so we might be able to help Elon and all them. He wants to go to Mars, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. If he offered you a ticket, would you go?
If he offered me a ticket, would I go? You know what? I don't think so, because I think it would take me far too long to get to Mars, and I'm not sure what the return ticket looks like.
Right. And it's dusty, right?
I think I'm staying here, man.
Yeah. Well, I was talking, we have the CTO of the SpaceX coming on, right? Cool. Yeah, so I'm really, and then we had, Roomba, they like iRobot, they make the little robot. Yeah. So I said, all right, well, I'll bring you guys value because we'll do a special mission because Mars is so dusty. We'll get Verizon involved. We'll build an army of Roombas and we'll send them on a ship ahead of time to clean up Mars.
That sounds like a good use case.
Yeah. And then you guys can, coordinate the digital connection, and that's something 5G, the 5G Roomba army.
Count us in.
There you go. And Canon will take pictures of it.
There you go.
Oh man, Kyle, man, this has been so much fun. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for coming on the show and hanging out.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're doing, man. It's pretty cool. I went onto your site and I listened to some of the stuff. So,
oh, nice.
It's a pretty cool thing. So, I appreciate your time as well.
All right, man. You have a great day.
All right, you too. Cheers.
See ya. Thanks for watching this interview. I hope it brought you a ton of value. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Tune in to the Modern CTO channel weekly for more amazing videos just like this one.